I want to make some observations about climate change after billions of dollars spent in research, international conferences, the economies of major powers completely realigned, university studies, vast amounts of hot air, vast amounts of gas bagging, newsprint expended, international jet flights with all their carbon emissions. I've just got one itty bitty little observation to make, and it concerns sea level rise. Now, the scientists tell us that sea levels around the world have risen. They tell us about the thickness of the Greenland ice shelf, and etc., etc. I just want to make the point that 50 years ago, myself included, people used to go to little beaches and little coves, and decades later they've gone back to those places and observed that the sea level has not risen in these places. In fact, in many cases they've maybe set up depth markers, and those depth markers show exactly the same sea level as existed 50 years ago. Now, this is a bit of a worry, because we have all these scientists telling us, I've heard many scientists say that sea levels have risen globally, and yet the anecdotal evidence of people who have revisited these beaches and so on that they used to go to decades ago has not demonstrated any meaningful sea level rise at all. And yet during this time of global warming, you have scientists telling us that sea levels have definitely risen by some rather small amount, and that by the end of this century, the Empire State Building in New York will be underwater. Now, there's a little bit of a disconnect going on here. What I want is to hear from tens of people, dozens of people, thousands of people, millions of people, I don't care who. I want to hear people tell me that that little beach, that little cove they used to go to decades ago has definitely witnessed sea level rise. Now, that is not the case. Why isn't it the case? Now, this is all pretty straightforward. Any number of people should be able to attest to the fact that in those decades there has been a meaningful amount of sea level rise. If sea level is rising anywhere, it's rising somewhere else in the world. You're not getting sea level rise just in one spot. It's going to be global. And amidst all of this hot air about climate change, billions of dollars spent, vast taxes imposed, why can't we have any number of people attesting to sea level rise, meaningful sea level rise in their own personal experience, supported by photos, supported by sea level markers showing meaningful sea level rise? Why can we not have that? If we don't have that, why don't we just shelve this whole business until somebody can demonstrate meaningful sea level rise? That's all for now. See you next time.